Lisa, Lima India 2933 está en falla total, eléctrica total y combustible. Está libre de operable lluvia sobre la estación La Mamá India de 933, bomberos alertados. No lo tengo con la altitud, Lima India. 9000 pies, señorita. Vectores. Está a 8.2 millas de la pista.
Hoje para poder agradecer um pouquinho o que todos vocês fizeram por nós. Obrigado pelas orações, obrigado pelas vibrações, pelos pensamentos positivos. Hoje é um dia que a gente precisa celebrar a vida, celebrar o futebol. E eu queria humildemente que todos pudessem dar uma salva de palmas àqueles irmãos que se foram.
On the 28th of November 2016, a professional football team from Copa, Brazil boarded a flight for the biggest match in the club's history. With a little luck, this team of underdogs had made an unlikely climb to the pinnacle of football in South America. The football club, Chapecoense, was scheduled to play in the Copa Sudamericana finals in 2016 in Medellin, Colombia. Chapecoense was in the Serie D, the fourth tier of Brazilian football, as early as 2009. They were promoted to Serie C in 2010, then to Serie B in 2013, and they made it to the Brazil's top league, the Serie A, in 2014. The side was truly inspirational in a rise through Brazilian football that no one saw coming. But 2 days before the biggest match of their lives, just a few miles from landing in Medellin, Colombia, their chartered plane crashed into a mountainside after running out of fuel. 71 of the 77 on board were killed, including 19 of the team's 22 players. After the most horrific incident sports has seen in many years, the concept of rebuilding a team and rebuilding a football club has been taken to a whole new dimension. Shapeco, carved out of the forest in the country's hard-working southern region, closer to Argentina than to the beaches of Rio. Shapeco is a city of immigrants. Most came to Europe in the last 100 years. This region, just like most of the country, all had one religion, and that was football. And this region in particular worshipped one team, Chapecoense. In today's video we go into the rise of Chapecoense, the incident involved, the aftermath from the footballing world, and most importantly, what has happened to Chapecoense since, because that is the most important part of this story, how a club can possibly bounce back from such a devastating incident. If you are new here and you enjoy these types of content, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this and football investigations. And if you want to help out the channel as well, then please drop a like. Let's try and hit 2,000 likes on this video, as it does go a long way and promote the video to much more people. And do you remember where you were when the incident happened over 6 years ago? I hope you guys do enjoy, and let's get into the video. Shapeco, at the time, represented the smallest city competing in Brazil's top football league. It was not that long ago that both geographically and in the sports world, Shapeco resided in the middle of nowhere. Matheus Saroli is the son of the head coach at the time. Back in 2016, Matheus comes from a proud Brazilian family of football players and coaches. By the time his father became the coach of Chapecoense, by then the team had already made history, ascending from deep in the minor leagues to the big time in a span of just 5 years. Quartered by Mateusz, they had a special group of people. It came from the top down, and that year, specifically last year, they had a great squad. Not a lot of very famous people, but the team played as a team. With great pride, Chape fans will tell you their club has no Pelés. Instead, the team took on the characteristics of the community. In unpretentious, unfussy Shapeco, the club was a study in populism and discipline. Short on flair, long on odds. Never outworked, they were that team opponents hated to face. In that season, the little club, punching above its weight, delivered a knockout blow when goalkeeper Danilo made a critical save. It secured Chapecoense's spot in the championship of the Copa Sudamericana, one of the continent's most prestigious competitions. Chapecoense's route to the final was extraordinary, facing teams that each time were seen to be the underdogs, knocking out Independiente from Argentina, Atletico Junior from Colombia, and San Lorenzo from Argentina. For those that may not be aware, the Copa Sudamericana is in comparison to the Europa League when it comes to European football, the Copa Sudamericana being the junior to the more prestigious Copa Libertadores. But to the squad of Chapecoense, they cannot care any less. After the game, the players, the staff, and their families celebrated in the locker room. As one, they belted out in Portuguese a simple song, Vamos Chape. 5 days later, they went on a flight operated by a cut-rate charter company called La Mia, happy to where they were going in Medellin, Colombia, to face the finalist Atlético Nacional, the biggest football club in Colombia. Everyone close to Chapecoense was on that plane. The culture of the club, the administration, the players, the coaching team, the media was on that plane. The aircraft was carrying 73 passengers and 4 crew members on a flight from Vizeh International Airport in the Bolivian city of Santa Cruz to Jose Maria Cordova International Airport serving Medellin in Colombia. The 2 pilots of the La Mia flight was 36-year-old Miguel Quiroga and second officer Fernando Goitia. These 2 were both very experienced pilots with over 6,000 flight hours in their piloting career. Now, I'm going to spare the specific details of this flight, but if you are interested in watching a video about every detail of what happened, then there's a great video on Soccer Stories Oh My Goal when they go in depth into the exact details when it comes to the flight. Because this video is not looking purely into the disaster itself and more into the aftermath and the club since, I will give you a more simple explanation. The pilots involved made a fateful error when estimating the amount of fuel needed to reach the destination. However, there were some problems that did arise that did make their situation quite complicated. For example, one destination that the aircraft can refuel is Copa, but they would not be able to reach there in time due to their early closing time. They started their flight in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and went across to fuel up in Santa Cruz in Bolivia. As I said, because of the early closing time, they would have to reschedule a place to get fuel between their journey from Santa Cruz to Medellin. They decided to reschedule to refuel in Bogota. However, due to changing to a more direct route, contrary to their initial route to Copa, they believe that they may just have just enough fuel to reach Medellin and may not even need to go to Bogota. Both pilots on board had low fuel warnings for a large length of the time before their crash. One truly devastating piece of information about this is that the pilot on board did not notify anyone on board, including any of the players, any of the staff, about what was happening on board. No one on the plane knew that the plane was severely running out of fuel and was at true risk of not reaching their destination. This green line indicates a period during when the aircraft was in a holding pattern. This was when the Medellin air traffic controllers instructed the aircraft to enter a racetrack shaped holding pattern and to wait for 3 other aircrafts for its turn to land. They were told to expect a clearance in approximately 7 minutes. 3 minutes later, they declared a fuel emergency and immediately requested descent clearance and vectors for approach. 6 minutes later, the aircraft hit the side of a mountain known as Cerro Gordo at an altitude of 2,600 meters. A rescue operation was held for multiple days in which they found 71 people have lost their lives in the crash. Among the survivors, which included 2 passengers and a flight attendant, were 3 Chapecoense players, Alan Ruskell, Neto and Jackson Foreman, as quoted with an interview with the 3 players, asking, "When did you first sense something was very wrong?" Neto replied, "I felt it when the plane shut down. When the emergency lights came on, I said, 'Jesus, have mercy.' I heard the noise of the wind. I remember an alarm going off and a voice came on in English to signal an emergency. I remember many people on the plane were praying. Many people saying, 'Jesus, help my God. Jesus, have mercy.'" Neto was found in a wreckage hours later. He would lie in a coma for 9 days. Ruskell sustained a spinal cord injury and Foreman lost his right leg below the knee. No one fully understands how the accident could have occurred. We do know the pilot took off with not enough fuel and he has received the bulk of the blame from various investigations. Leticia Gabriel was the wife of the goalkeeper Danilo, who also tragically lost his life. Leticia said in an interview, "I remember seeing those trucks and that very strong rain. It seemed like God was looking at the disaster and crying." As the coffins arrived at the stadium, it started to rain even harder. It was like a movie where the soldiers went to war and returned in those coffins. I hope to never see something like that ever again in my life. It is an unexplainable feeling. The widows and the families each received a life insurance payout worth about 3 years' salary from the club and the Brazilian Soccer Federation, but some also have filed lawsuits against Chapecoense and more cases are possible against the airline Lamia and their insurers. After the crash, the club made a firm decision. For the good of the community, as well as for financial reasons, Chapecoense had to continue competing. New players, new coaches were hired. The spirit of Vamos Chape would be embodied effective immediately. News spread out to the entire world, where football clubs and football stars united together in support of Chapecoense. The Brazilian Federation stopped football as a time of mourning for the nation. Life continues for the town, the team, and its players. Not long after, Jackson Foreman got married, and his 2 best men were Neto, now currently rehabbing and working on a comeback into football, and Alan Ruskell, the only one of the 3 survivors who stepped back out onto the field for the team. His first game back was in August of 2017. It was an exhibition in Spain held to raise funds for the families of Chape. That day, he faced arguably the greatest player in the history of the sport. Barcelona versus Chapecoense. They were invited and welcomed to Barcelona to hold an exhibition to raise money for the club and for the people. Sadly, the Brazilian visitors lost to Barcelona 5-0, but that wasn't the important part. The aftermath of this event led to the entire world coming together and offering a hand support to the people who lost their lives and the families and the fans who lost a football club. As a sign of good faith, the Colombian giant Atlético Nacional requested to the federation that Chapecoense will be declared the winners of Copa Sudamericana. The players that boarded the Lamia flight to arrive in Medellin may not have arrived, however their contribution to the football club will forever be remembered. They will go down in history for the first time ever that Chapecoense has won a CONMEBOL title, bringing pride to not only the football club but to the people of Brazil. Since the tragic event, they've sadly been relegated down to Serie B in 2019. But do not despair, because the following season they won the Serie B title. Sadly, however, in their first year back in the Serie A, they did indeed get relegated, winning only 1 game in the 38-game season. But if we know one thing about Chapecoense, is that they will be back, and they will be back stronger than ever. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. This has been quite an emotional one. However, I hope that I have dealt this topic with the respect that it does deserve. All of the 71 passengers that lost their lives on the Lamia flight is on the screen right now. May they forever be remembered and will never be forgotten in the history of not only Brazilian football, but to the entire sport. If you do enjoy this type of content, then feel free and subscribe. It does go a long way, and I appreciate you guys' time. Have a fantastic day.